Hey guys, welcome to the Trusted Advisor channel. I'm Wayne Gill, your trusted advisor. And today I want to share with you my four-step, I know I'm holding up 5 fingers with three fingers and a marker, right? My four-step success formula. Now listen, people define success in many different ways. And there's certainly, kind of God-centered ways of defining success. But however you define success, if there's something that you want in this life, really only 4 ways to go about getting it. It can be described in a multiplicity of ways. But there are 4 steps that I really want you to write down and to really ponder and think on. I was having this conversation with my son one day. He was talking to me about his life and his career and all that. And this just popped in my head, and I shared it with him. And so I want to share it with you, Gavin, if you're out there, sharing our secrets, bro. All right, so my 4-step success formula. To succeed in whatever endeavor you're looking to do, right? And I mean this spiritually, I mean this professionally, in your life, I mean on the job, in your business, whatever it may be. You really just have to do 4 things. Step number 1. Number 1, you've got to know what you want. And I know, some people are going to be like, well, come on, that's, elementary. Yeah, know what you want. Well, it's not that elementary. Take it from a guy who practiced law for 20 odd years, been a business advisor for many, many years, a minister for many years. And I am constantly, again, the trusted advisor, right? Counseling and speaking with people about their goals, their dreams, their definitions of success, what they'd like to get out of life, what they'd like to get out of their business, out of a situation. And this is a lot more rare than you would think. People really don't know what they want. Like when you drill down, you ask, well, what do you really want? It becomes squirrely. Well, I don't know. I haven't thought that much about it. So that's the first thing you've got to do. You've got to know exactly what it is you want. There's a story in the Bible of Jesus is walking by, and there's this blind man, and he knows that it's Jesus who's coming by, right? He hears it in the crowd, and he is screaming at the top of his lungs for Jesus. And the disciples are like, hey, tell that guy to shut up. And the guy, the more they tell him to shut up, the more he shouts even louder. Now, here's the part that's relevant here. When Jesus goes up to the guy, and he says to him, well, what do you want? The guy says, my sight. My sight. The blind man said, my sight. He knew exactly what he wanted. He already thought about it. He knew Jesus was the one who could do it for him. And when he got that moment, when he got that opportunity, he said exactly what he wanted. And that's the first thing you got to work on, my friends. You got to work on, what is it do you want, really? Be honest with yourself. Maybe, sometimes we all lie to ourselves, right? And we pretend we want certain things, or we do it for the people we love, or I don't know, based on expectations of us, or what we think we ought to be doing, or all kinds of things. But just be honest with yourself. Take out a journal, piece of paper, write it down. This is what I want. So you got to know, first of all, what you want. The second thing that you've got to know, which is really, really important, is why you want it. What do you want this for? You may want like a fancy car. There's nothing wrong with having a fancy car. Don't let anyone guilt you about your fancy car. I've owned fancy cars. The question is, well, why? Do you want a fancy car because it's going to make you feel like you're bigger than your neighbor, or, it's going to inflate your ego or something? That's maybe not such a good idea. But maybe you might buy a nice, big, luxurious car because, hey, you're going to treat your family, you're going to take them out, you're going to do other things with that car that just brings you joy and brings others joy. There might be other reasons why you want to have a certain car or a certain lifestyle or whatever it is you want. You just got to ask the question, why do you want it? I remember, again, in the Bible, there's another story of a guy named Simon. And he was a sorcerer. The story is told in the book of Acts. And when the Holy Spirit was given, he wanted the Holy Spirit as well. He wanted the power to call on the Holy Spirit. Why? Because he was holy and, he wanted to bless people? No. He wanted power. And so his motives was off. And Peter had to tell him to his face, dude, your motives are way off here. That's the last thing you're going to get, is the power of the Holy Spirit, when your motives and asking is completely wrong. And so you got to ask yourself, why do I want the things that I'm asking for? Why? What exactly is my why? So once you know your why, okay, these are the reasons I want this. and they're legitimate, they're good reasons, you've got to figure out the cost. In the Bible, it says to actually count the costs. A biblical principle that you'll learn in a lot of business schools. Why? Well, because a lot of business schools really borrow from the Bible. They just don't give the Bible credit, or, you know, they borrow from God, but they don't give God credit. But ultimately, the Bible said years and years ago, count the cost. This is spoken of in Luke chapter 14. Jesus says, if you're going to go build a tower, wouldn't you first want to count the cost? Like, what is it going to take to build this tower before I go out and actually do that work? I want to count that cost. So you've got to go out and count the cost. Know what it's going to take. So, for example, on the last video, I asked Nathan, my cameraman, if you were going to do a project, if you were going to write a book, what it would be. He said he was going to write a book about preaching. Right? That was what he said. Okay, fine. He's going to write a book about preaching. Let's say Nathan wanted to become a preacher. And that was his goal. You know, he knows what he wants. He wants to be a preacher. Knows why he wants to do that. He wants to preach the gospel and bless people with the message, right, of Jesus Christ, right? That's what he wants to do. So he knows what he wants to do. He knows why he's doing it. Now he's got to count the cost. Can he do it? Is he going to need some schooling to become a preacher? Is he going to have to go under another pastor and learn under a pastor, be an under shepherd for a while? What's he going to do? What's the cost? And if you're going to start a business, for example, what's the cost? There's going to be some filing fees. There's going to be some learning curve. There's going to be some investment required of time, money, resources. What does it cost? Count the cost. Once you've counted the cost, then you know. Now you know what it's going to take to get to what you want. Number 3 tells you how to get to number 1, the thing it is that you want. And then finally, pay the price. Whatever that cost is, you got to pay it. Now, let's say for Nathan, to become a preacher, he had to go to seminary. Now, you can become a preacher without going to seminary. But let's say that was a requirement. And Nathan had to go to seminary. Well, he's got to count the cost. Now he's got to pay that price. You know? Is seminary $10,000 a year? Is it $5,000? I don't know what seminaries cost these days. But whatever that cost is, Nathan would have to decide, all right, what am I going to do that? I got to get a job. Do I need a second job? Can I borrow it? Can a relative give me can I raise the money? How am I going to pay this price to get what I want? And so, my friends, as you're thinking about what you want, whatever that may be, just follow this 4-step formula. Get really granular, get really clear about what it is you want. Like, really zone in on it. Notice that Nathan didn't say, I want to be a speaker. I mean, he could be a speaker, but a speaker could be in all kinds of environments. He said a very specific thing, preacher. Right? So get really specific about what you want. Then know why you want it. Why are you doing it? Is it some off motive like Simon the sorcerer because he just wanted power to laud power over people? Or do you want it to bless people, right? Why are you doing it? Figure out what it's going to cost and then pay the price. And if you do that, you could be successful in whatever you put your mind to. I hope that blessed you. Remember, I am the trusted advisor. Subscribe, share this video with someone. Please also subscribe to our newsletter. The comments, the links to the newsletter are in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. God bless.